Hello, hello, hello. Welcome. Glad to be you, whatever. Glad to be here. Well, I am going to start this out with Dave Trail in the 1940s, the census. The actual record when Dave was born. This is part 2. I don't know if there'll be a 3 or not, but it's open in case there is. This is Dave Trail, and this is in reference to one of my last videos where the person, which I think it was 2 people. Other people are saying they only think it's maybe 1, but just the way it was worded felt like 2 people. But this was on November 13th, same day as the slayings, and it was some people, let's just say there was an overdose, and they were found on a particular property, and this would be owned by the Trail, what do you call it? Like the family trust type thing. And this is Dave Trail right here. So he is the breadwinner, but says that all the kids are too. It says all the kids are very successful. So anyway, so here we go. Let's see. Born about 1939. Isn't it so weird, you guys, back then when literally they're kind of like, born maybe like, here, give them like September, October, whatever, It's all good. A month old, what's a month? Anyway, gender male, white, and his dad's name was Floyd, who was 30, and his mom name was Louise. And then he had a brother, Thomas, and a sister named Marilyn, and then it was him. So that's the household. So 4, 3, and the mama was busy. Okay, so this just goes on, doesn't really say too much. It's the Snapchat of David Trail's life was captured by 1940s U.S. Census. When Dave Trail was born, about 1939, his father Floyd was 29, and his mother Louise was 27. In 1940, he was 1 year old and lived in Moscow, Idaho, with his father, mother, brother, and sister. This is Dave and Susie, his wife. It's her 50th wedding anniversary. And this was in September 25th of 2011. So this is Dave and Susie's Trail. It's their 50th wedding anniversary, September 25th of 2011. Looks like a happy couple. Dave and Susie were married April 8, 1961 in Coeur d'Alene. The majority of their life has been in Moscow, where they raised their 4 children, Martin, Mike, Roger, and Kathy. In July, Dave and Susie celebrated their anniversary with their children and their family at Priest Lake, a preferred summer vacation getaway when the children were growing up. At the lake, the festivities included slides, skiing, tubing, and reminiscing. Dave and Susie gave their children and grandchildren memory books containing family pictures and accounts of their upbringing in northern Idaho. The pinnacle of the festivities included dinner at the family's favorite Hills Resort. The grandchildren composed and performed a song to honor their grandparents at the celebration. Oh, that's cool. Dave and Susie continue to reside in Moscow and enjoy visits from their 8 grandchildren. It's so cool. This is so funny because I remember growing up there in Idaho. And let's go back to their picture. And whenever us kids would come to town, like it was in the paper, like so-and-so, they're, being visited by their so-and-so. It was just so weird. Like all those small towns, it's just so interesting. It's too bad they don't do stuff like that anymore because that was really cool. Okay, this is the obituary for David Trail. And the reason I'm putting this on here first is because I just want to give you a little history of his life. And this is a pretty good one. It's really neat. Look at a happy guy. David M. Trail, age 76, August 25th, 1938. Oh, they got their dates wrong. Remember, it's 39 in the other one, in the census. August 25th, 1938 to January 10th, 2015. Last Saturday afternoon, Dave's earthly life was brought to an abrupt end by a gunman on a shooting spree. This was not Dave's first acquaintance with tragedy. During his Moscow childhood, his life was nearly ended by fire during a routine trash burn. After almost a year in local hospital beds, he overheard the doctor inform his folks, Floyd and Lewis Trail, they thought I was asleep, he explained, that their badly burned little boy was not going to make it. Dave set out to prove the doctor wrong. While recovering and still confined to the hospital bed, he entertained himself by doing finger exercises so that my fingers would get strong enough and play the piano when I got out, and developing his ear and demonstrating his love for cars by listening to the sounds of car engines through the open window, hospital window, and guessing the make and the model. I asked the nurses to run to the window to confirm my accuracy. This happy, determined little boy was one of their favorite patients. Happy determination shaped his life over the next 7 decades. While a student at Moscow High, he owned 1,000 fryers and 250 laying hens delivering eggs by bicycle. His determination won him the National Poultry 4-H Award. His zeal was contagious, perhaps genetic, as 3 of his children also went on to win the National 4-H Awards. 4-H stimulated his love for other interests ranging from gardening to machinery. He went on to help establish the Mountain View 4-H Club, and he had his friends raise money for family vacations by selling pumpkins each fall. His love for the garden never abated, and each fall found him busy distributing the abundance to friends, employees, tenants, and neighbors. Each Halloween, his 8 grandchildren and 4 children look forward to receiving their monogrammed pumpkins. This is funny. I'm going to just tell you a little story. The monogrammed pumpkins, so I have a friend who did this too, but I think it was his uncle, used to tell him that they'd give him a pumpkin seed, and they'd write their name on the pumpkin seed, and then they'd plant it, and he said that they'd grow and it'll have your name on it. Well, as the pumpkins were growing, the kids would always go out and check them. And one night he'd sneak out there and he'd actually carve their name in it. But then it would, like, as it grew, it actually looked like it was, like it was born with a name, Anyway, this is what this reminds me of, monogram pumpkins. So I'm pretty sure that's what he means by that, but I'm not positive. Anyway, monogram pumpkins, I thought that was so cool. As a youngster, Dave built a small engine go-kart, the Jitterbug, which continues to delight his grandchildren. At the University of Idaho, he met 2 of the loves of his life, the Sigma Chi fraternity and his wife of 53 years, Susanna Shern Trail. He employed his remarkable musical ear to finance his way through college with earnings from the David Trail Quartet. He could play almost any musical instrument, with piano being his specialty. Entertaining others has been a lifelong passion, as he has continued to entertain around the region. His 3rd son, Roger, inherited his father's ear and has been involved in many bands during his life. When the Sigma Chi chapter of the U of I needed a new home, and while I was too young and to know any better, he traveled the nation raising funds. He continued to be active in Sigma Chi after college and later raised funds for an additional and present chapter house on the U of I campus. As a life-loyal Sig, he continued serving the fraternity for the rest of his life as a perennial contributor to the chapter's scholarship funds. After many years of involvement, Sigma Chi named David to the Order of Constantine, the fraternity's highest honor for commitment, dedication, and service. It pleased him greatly that his 3 sons joined the Sigma Chi chapter of the U of I. His eldest son, Martin, continues to serve as a chapter advisor today, and his 2nd son, Mike, was named the International Balfour Award winner, Sigma Chi highest undergraduate honor, and the premier award for the international fraternity with over 300,000 members. While at the U of I, he graduated in business and agronomy. Ugh, I can't say that word. I tried the last time I did this one. Yeah, I actually made one of these already, you guys, and it deleted accidentally. I don't know how I did it, but this is my 2nd time around. Okay, so anyway, he met his wife, Susie Shern of Coeur d'Alene and Alpha of High. In spite of the fact that she never got to dance because Dave was always playing in the band, they married at the end of their college career and went on to be a devoted and hardworking team for 53 years as they raised their children, gardened, and ran the family businesses. Susie served as a bookkeeper for over 50 years. Not something I was particularly prepared to do as a home economics major, but we succeeded, she laughs. In 1964, after a brief stint in Spokane as a grain buyer, he accepted an offer with Northwestern Mutual, and 3 years later, he returned to his hometown to rebuild the company's Moscow branch. Dave was proud and loyal to his Mutual customer-owned company because he knew that it focused on the best interest of its customers. During his career, he wrote numerous articles on estate planning and taxation, speaking over 100 times for the company around the country, which currently has over $212 billion in assets and has been listed as America's most admired by Fortune magazine for decades. Last summer, he was recognized by Northwestern's president for 50 years of outstanding service. He was proud of the fact that his business involved 3 generations, and he was working on a continuity plan with his son Martin Trail, 34 years with Northwestern, and grandson-in-law Justin Swift at the time of his death. He didn't speak much about these accomplishments, and folks were often amazed that he did this from the little town of Moscow, Idaho. In the community, Dave was involved in Moscow's Rotary for over 45 years. He served as president and as Paul Harris Fellow. He and Susie often hosted the club's summer picnics on Moscow Mountain. He often played keyboard and entertained at many Rotary functions when he was not busy selling Idaho potatoes to raise funds. He truly enjoyed his friendships and service focus on many Rotarians he met over the years. Dave could often be seen driving people around in one of his antique cars. He drove many dignitaries in parades and newlyweds to their receptions. This was a prime example of his quiet and humble way of serving his community. His drive to succeed in business did not overshadow his desire to help others kickstart their own careers. One attorney mentioned recently that Dave sent him so many referrals when he started his own practice that he barely had time to get his office opened. From the Moscow office, a number of national Northwestern Mutual leaders emerged. Importantly, he did not forget his own family. He once turned down a very sweet deal in Beverly Hills because he felt it was not in the best interest of his family. He knew that Moscow was a place he wanted to continue to raise his children. His daughter Kathy recalls, "Dad always provided incredible support and encouragement to me, regardless of the situation. Like her father, Kathy has exhibited tremendous determination throughout her life. Dave was not always serious. He often displayed a quirky sense of humor. Former high school classmates report various antics, including drinking the paintbrush rinse water in art class. Ugh. The rinse water aftertaste has faded, but his paintings still hang in the family home. Growing up, his kids loved to sing silly songs along with him at the piano. He once had a video of himself dressed up as a termite driving a tractor across the Palouse fields. Dave communicated his love by giving. He modeled determination, honesty, and treating other people right. He always encouraged others to support their local community. As all of his children grew up knowing, because of his praise, that their mom was the best cook on the planet and that the quickest way to get in trouble with Dad was to disrespect Mom. Family survivors, in addition to his wife, Susie, include his children, Martin Trail, Julie, and children Carly Swift, Justin, and Cooper Trail of Moscow, Mike Trail with Elsa, and children Sophia and Olivia of Bainbridge Island, Washington, Roger Trail, Alba, is his wife's name, and children Austin and David of Clarkston, Washington, Kathy Trail and children Peter and Abby Croson of Redmond, Washington, his siblings Tom Trail, wife Joanne of Moscow, Marilyn Trail of Worley, Idaho, and Susan Trail of Ellensburg, Washington, and many extended family members. Dave told others that he would work until he died, and so he did. He died doing what he loved. Happy determination, love, and loyalty defined Dave's life. He is irreplaceable and sorely missed. The Moscow service will be held Saturday, January 17th at 11 a.m. at the Moscow Church of the Nazarene, with a reception to follow. Arrangements are under the direction of Short's Funeral Chapel, Moscow, and online condolences may be left at the Short's Family Chapel. Donations in Dave's memory may be made to one of the following: Sigma Chi, make the check payable to University of Idaho Foundation. On the memo indicate that it is for the 7 Founders Fund in memory of David Trail. Okay, there you go. So now we'll get on to how he passed away. So this is the guy that killed him, as well as 2 other people, and injured another one. Moscow shooting suspect could face death penalty. John Lee, 29, is accused of killing 3 people. He is set to go to trial next May. Moscow, Idaho. Attorneys have more time to decide whether to pursue the death penalty for a man suspected of fatally shooting 3 people and wounding another. The Moscow Pullman Daily News reports Judge John Stegner gave both sides until December 1st to review the case and come to a decision. Earlier this month, 29-year-old John Lee of Moscow pleaded not guilty to charges in the deaths of his adopted mother, 61-year-old Terry Grzebelski, and his landlord, 76-year-old David Trail, and an Arby's manager, 47-year-old Belinda Nyber. Police also say Lee injured Michael Chin of Seattle. The request from Latah County prosecutors say the state and defense are reviewing a large volume of material and investigating further. Lee is due in court February 16th. Jury selection in his trial is set for May 2nd. Okay, 3 dead. Suspect captured in Idaho shootings. Oh, God, I got slings on the brain. Idaho police said they found 5 guns and a laptop computer in the vehicle of a man suspected of killing 3 people in a shooting spree Saturday. Moscow, Idaho. Police reported 3 shooting incidents Saturday afternoon in Moscow, Idaho, involving a gunman and 4 victims. 3 of the victims are dead. The victims have been identified as Moscow's businessman, David Trail, 76, Arby's manager, Belinda Newberg, 47, and the suspect's adoptive mother, Terry Grzebelski, 61. The gunman, 29-year-old John Lee, was later captured. Officials said he knew all but one of his victims. Authorities said Lee shot Grzebelski at her home in the 400 block of Velch Street in Moscow. Officers said another shooting happened at the offices of Northwestern Mutual Life Insurance on 3rd Street in Moscow at 2:30 p.m. Officials say Trail and Michael Chin, 39, were shot by Lee during that encounter. They said Chin was able to call police after the shooting. Trail was transported to Pullman Regional Hospital and was later pronounced dead. Chin was transported to Gritman Medical Center before being flown to Seattle Hospital as in critical condition. Moscow Police Chief David Duke said that Trail, the brother of a former Idaho state representative, was Lee's landlord. He said that there were some issues regarding the apartment, but didn't know of any eviction proceedings. Police said a 3rd shooting occurred at the Arby on Peterson Drive. They said Lee entered the restaurant and asked for the manager, pulled out a gun, and opened fire. Newber was transported to the Medical Gritman Center and was declared dead. Investigators were trying to determine if there was any links between Lee and the Arby's manager. Officials said Lee fled in a black Honda. When police tried to pull him over, a pursuit ensued. Lee later crashed his car around 3:20 p.m. on Highway 195 and was taken into custody. The car left the roadway northbound 195 at milepost 47 and rolled. Lee was taken into the Whitman County Jail and charged with felony eluding. Investigators said they have not recovered the gun, but they believe it is still in the car. No word yet on a motive. Authorities are working to get Lee extradited back to Moscow. No word yet on what he will be charged with in Idaho. People who knew Lee's first victim, Terry, said she was a physician's assistant at Moscow Family Medical. They said she also played in some local bands and that she was full of life and very well liked. Neighbors said she leaves behind a husband, another adopted child, and a biological child. The second victim, David Trail, was a businessman. He worked as a financial consultant for Northwest Mutual. The third victim, Belinda Newberg, was a veteran manager at the Arby's on Peterson. A vice president for the local company that owns the Arby's said her loss is a huge hit for the family. We lost a manager and an employee of 7 years tonight, and that's where our hearts and minds are right now, said the Happy Day Corporation Operations Vice President Pat Rogers. I did not like, every time I read this, it makes me cringe the way they worded this one. Ugh. Anyway, after the shooting, Washington State University sent out 2 text alerts to students. They let students know that there was not an active threat to the Pullman campus, but urged them to use caution. The University of Idaho issued a statement Saturday offering sympathy to the friends and family of the victims. The statement said, "We are deeply saddened by the violence today that seriously injured 1 person and claimed the lives of 3 others. 2 from our Vandal family. Moscow Family Medicine physician's assistant Terry was a provider at the University of Idaho Student Health Center for many years, where she was highly valued and respected. Dave Trail was a Vandal alumnus and a longtime UI supporter. He graduated from UI in 1964 with a Bachelor in Science in Business and Economy. His dedication to the community and to the university will be sorely missed. Law enforcement from Moscow, Latah County, Idaho State Police, as well as Washington agencies are investigating the incident." Okay, I'm going to read you one more.
Good evening, everyone. Thanks for staying up late with us. I'm Janae Ryan.
And I'm Carol Zinke.
Now, a Moscow man will go to trial and possibly face the death penalty today. A Latah County judge ruled that there is enough evidence to try 29-year-old John Lee, previously known as Cain Grabowski, for triple murder and aggravated battery. Now, these crimes were committed back on January 10th. I'm sure we all remember that day from living out here. Now, you were in the courtroom today. Carol, tell us exactly what happened.
That's exactly right, Sinead. Today was Lee's preliminary hearing. Investigators say he killed his mother, Terry Grabowski, his landlord, David Trail, and Arby's manager, Belinda Newberg, during a shooting spree that day. It happened before Lee led police on a high-speed chase into Whitman County. He was arrested and had a few court appearances there, and then later was extradited to Latah County. The first witness prosecuting attorneys called to the stand today was Michael Chin. He's the sole surviving victim. Chin was visiting with Trail at his office at Northwestern Mutual the day prosecutors say Lee shot Trail and Chin. Chin was shot in his shoulder, chest, and knee. He says he spent a lot of time in the hospital since then, recovering, having multiple surgeries, and he'll be starting his 3rd round of physical therapy next week.
It had no expression at all. It was kind of distant, very cold, but it was a very intentional stare at Dave Trail. I've been contemplating this a lot because I believe that if he wanted to kill me at that time, he would have done so. And I believe this because, in my opinion, because of the way that he had shot and killed Dave Trail.
It's for this account given by Chin that the original charge of attempted murder Lee faced changed to aggravated battery. The Honorable Judge John Judge also heard from several law enforcement officials involved in the incident and some of Niebuhr's co-workers. They talked about what happened at the restaurant that day. Sydney Jones says Lee came into the restaurant asking to speak with her manager, Belinda Niebuhr. She says it seemed urgent, so she went to her office to get her.
The next thing I remember is seeing him pull out the gun and pointing it at her. Yeah, I saw him pull it out and say, "You're in me," click, click.
Lee will be back in court on August 4th for his arraignment.
Carol, it looks like it was a really emotional day. I mean, those testimonies that we were just shared, and I know something that happens in a small community like that one, I mean, everyone is affected. What was kind of the feeling in there?
Definitely. It was, I don't want to say a full house, but pretty darn close. There's a lot of people in the community in there, and it can't be easy to watch, especially for the people directly related, and it can't be an easy thing to testify with. But we'll keep you updated as this unfolds.
So I'm going to leave you guys with that. I just wanted to say that just because these people or person was found on his property doesn't mean that they actually know them. That's just where the address was that they gave for that particular incident. So please don't, go and don't dox or don't talk, don't call him, don't do nothing like that. We can't call him; he's gone. But he and his wife had passed. But like with his kids or anything, it's just I thought it was important to know like the area that these things are in. And as I've been going through this and doing my land glide and stuff, it's crazy how there is such a pattern that I would think the police would be able to solve it in a jiffy just because of the pattern. And just with us reading, the Moscow reports, there's a pattern, a big time pattern. And I highly doubt, I don't think you guys are involved at all, with that kind of thing. But there isn't that area. So let's just pay your condolences to David and his wife Susie, and he sounded like a really good man. He really did. So I guess all Sigma Chi aren't bad, right? So, it's just like, it's like, what was it one time? Oh, I used to live in this gated community. And someone said to me, what do you mean? It must be really, safe in there and stuff. And I said, you know what? There's bad people everywhere. Just because it's a gated community doesn't mean they can't get in, or doesn't mean they're not already here. And so I was just, it's kind of interesting to me that just, it doesn't matter. There's always going to be, there's good and bad. That's just the way it rolls. That's the way it's always been. And there's going to be good infiltrating the bad and bad infiltrating the good. Unfortunately, that's just the way it is. I just hope that, I just hope that there's some type of justice that comes out of this, because I just don't want to see this being one of those cases that's just not solved. But unfortunately, if it's not solved, if BK is found not guilty, I don't think, in my opinion, that they will, even if they say they've got someone and they bring them to trial, I don't think that they are going to be telling the truth of the whole thing. I think that it'll be another patsy. It'll be another, because they're protecting. It's pretty darn obvious that whoever did this is being protected, and I have a pretty good feeling who it is, but idea, whatever. And and it's, deep roots, like I said, deep roots, deep pockets, deep money, definitely a pillar in the town, and they're not going to throw them under the bus because they're supporters, that's where they get their money, honey. Okay, well, hope you and your wife are having a good time up there, Dave. All right, you guys, thanks for listening. Have a great night.